In this video, we're going to be incorporating more details into our face. Let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to just add a few more textures to our face. I feel like there are too many flat areas, so we're just going to add the exact same technique. I'm going to bring in some snake scales. Actually, this is a Komodo dragon again, Komodo dragon. And so just going to do a puppet warp again instead of just a regular warp, because I want to make sure that the texture fits the area. So sometimes we can get away with just doing a puppet warp, but in this case we can't. I think we have to make sure that we're pretty close to what we need. So overlay is our option again, and I just want to play with the opacity. I'm going to throw a mask on so I could just clean it up. Another example or advantage of using a mask is I can take this same layer and flip it over and throw the mask away. And I already have the parameters as far as the overlay and the opacity that I'm using. So it's just a time saver. And you know, if you've been paying attention to the tutorial, I'm just throwing a few time savers that I use in my workload and my workflow. So this time I just turned it into a symbol and moved it over, which is what we've done before. I didn't flip it over, I just moved it over this time. And I'm going to use a mask again and just clean the edges off. And you can see this is a much more in-depth creature just by adding those scales there. And the scales tie into the scales lower in the lower part of the painting, so it's still cohesive, everything's still going in the right direction. Go. Just clean this up, erasing and making sure I don't have any spots left over that I don't want to use. Okay, so now this is okay. Let's bring in the veins. All right, and now we're going to simply add those to give us a little more in-depth texture and a build of skin. So all this is just a simple photocopy of a root that's been cleaned up and saved out, and we'll use that as our veins. And we'll take the same symbol and we'll use it over and over again to just add a little more texture, a little more detail to, when I say texture, I should say detail to make sure that everyone understands, but just add a little more detail to our project. And so I'm just going to mirror this, copy this, and move it over and rotate it and make sure that it doesn't look like the exact same piece. And go to our go-to tool, which is the warp tool, and just stretch and push and pull. Get this in a pretty good position. So this is here. And we'll change the colors once we get a little further along. So let's just go ahead and jump a little further ahead, and you can see we changed the color slightly by just using Control U. And we're going to go ahead and do the other side. So there it is. We can see it's a little bit of that orange red in the skin, and we're going to grab one of the copies we made, and we'll just simply flip it over and get this guy in place. Rotate. There we go. Scale it down a little bit. And we'll adjust the color again with the hue and saturation tool. This time you can see it. And just make sure that we're bringing it to a good quality blend with what we already have. Now, if I want the veins to be larger, I just use a larger PNG, or I use a larger illustration or photo, and then I can make the veins bigger. But I think for what we're doing, the size that we have is a pretty good size. So here we go. Just get rid of that one altogether. All right, so looks like, yeah, looks pretty good. I think we're headed in a solid direction. We can continue to move with our painting. And in the next video, we'll continue to texture and paint our creature.